Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching or listening to us from. You are watching the Nyohobai Show on the Gambian Talents TV, brought to you by your host, Pa Ousman Joof. It's been a minute, getting Magis, but I have to come back on air. Yaganalen Kowa, Nelen Kui Odola mention no perafle. I love this and would love to do it, but all this while I've been very busy. It's 2023. Happy New Year to everybody that is watching us wherever you are. We are here for a special thing, and this is to talk about the security concerns in the Gambia. Ak li nga xamne mo nekk di go on suñu dëkka. Wulen bir net lately the Gambia has been going through a roller coaster with so many different things happening, from individual citizens, security threats, stealings, armed robberies. I mean, you name it. But on another note, there are also security concerns. As a couple of weeks ago, or in mid-December, we woke up to an alleged coup that was taking place, or that was about to take place, or a coup that was foiled by the armed forces of the Gambia. And of course, the next day, we saw the government spokesperson releasing a statement, and several things followed. A couple of days later, we had that one of the political figures in the country, in the person of Mamadou Sabali, was arrested. And detained. He was there for almost a couple of weeks, eventually released a day or two before the New Year's. In the studio with us, Mr. ML Faye, here in Seattle, Washington, who has a security background, and we'll be talking to Mr. Faye about the security issues in the Gambia and the whole 9 yards. Welcome to the Gambian Talents TV, Mr. Faye.
Thank you, Mr. Juve, and thank you for having me over.
And first off, I would like to ask you, a lot of people may be surprised seeing ML Faye on TV
right.
talking about security in the Gambia.
Right.
Who is ML Faye? And what authority do you have to talk about the security concerns in the Gambia?
Well, ML well, first of all, hello, Gambia. ML well, I studied criminal justice, and I focused on law enforcement, emergency management, and national security crisis and law enforcement crisis, homeland security, and also correction. And also, I'm working alongside of my business, a job that I cannot talk about, basically.
A job you cannot talk about. Are you an FBI agent?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Well, are you an FBI agent?
No.
I cannot have you in my studio. You cannot come here and hide. Are you an FBI agent?
I'm not.
Do you work for the CIA?
No.
Huh? Do you work for Homeland Security?
No, I'm not.
I ain't get no papers. How much can you tell us?
No. I cannot talk about it. I cannot.
Are you selling our people?
No.
What do you do? Tell us the job you do in
Honestly,
America.
I cannot talk about it. It's nothing major. It's nothing major, really. It's just my professional job on the side, but it's nothing like that.
Man, I'll make it.
No.
Are you an agent of the CIA?
No.
You're not going to tell us.
No, I mean,
But in a nutshell, you studied law enforcement. You focus on law enforcement. You studied criminal justice.
Right.
From where?
So I got my Associate of Applied Science in Criminal Justice from Black Hawk Technical College in Janesville, Wisconsin, and then I went to University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, and then I later transferred to Upper Iowa University, where I obtained my Bachelor's of Science degree in Criminal Justice, and I graduated with honor.
You focus on
law enforcement, emergency management, homeland security, corrections as well, and minor in psychology.
So that gives you the authority then to talk about security lapses, security loopholes, security corrections, security successes and failures, right?
Yes. As a matter of fact, that's part of my studies.
Okay. Well, a couple of weeks ago, Gambia generally lately has been so insecure, and people are comparing. Just last week, my team in Gambia did a vox pop in which people were talking about, they were comparing Adam Barrow's government and Yahya Jammeh's government. In your view, um, which government do you think is better, or the Gambia is more secure under the Yahya Jammeh's government or Adam Barrow's government?
Well, on the security part of it, when it comes to the security, peace, and stability of the country, I would say Jammeh, to be honest.
And how is that so?
Because we all know how many Jammeh, but he never compromised with the security and stability of the country. I think the difference between former President Yahya Jammeh and President Barrow is that Yahya Jammeh would make it known to the people that he's not going to compromise the security and stability of the people in the Gambia. Versus Barrow.
So what is happening under Adama Barrow that didn't happen during Yahya Jammeh that makes you say that Adama Barrow's time, the Yahya Jammeh's time was more secure?
Well, our security right now is compromised.
How?
Because our own security personnel have intel that is they're being undermined, and when you undermine your people, there is no loyalty. For example, I know people are gonna say, "Well, our neighboring country came to rescue us, to help us out, right?" But Nikki, dinyo sa kepo di ma ngane ko kazi cabinet bi, then kunega sa cabinet ngane ko di ma si salve. There is one thing that people don't understand in the Gambia. Intelligence gathering is very important. So the people who are in our state house, they might be gathering intel for their country too, while acting like they're helping us. And another thing that our people, our security system do not understand is this. As a security personnel, you just don't look at today, tomorrow. You look at 60 years down from now, our next generation, our kids, right? For example, we might come across natural resources, and if we come across those secrets, and for some reason the foreign security services who are currently occupied in our state house might stumble onto that. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to pass the information to their people because their loyalty falls back to their people,
their country, right?
Yes.
Origin. Didn't you actually, Mr. Faye? I was asking you about locally. Gambia Legi Nyeparagal. I sit here and people in Seattle tell me, I want to go to Gambia. Do you know any security firm? I want to hire personal bodyguards. I work so hard for my money and I am scared to go to Gambia and flash it and spend it and show what I got. I buy expensive jewelry and stuff for myself and my wife, but we are scared to go. I can hire a security person that will go with me to eat what I eat, hang out with me, and do all the good things just because I want to be safe and secure. People buy their stuff and take it to Gambia, or they're there locally, have businesses, and those businesses get attacked. Locally, people are scared. Even this New Year's, I was having a show right here with my team who were at Westfield, who were at Senegambia, who were at Banjul, and all of them reported to me in some of the semesters they talked to people from the diaspora, told them that they just talk here. One of the concerns was traffic, the other one was Pundabi, and but most importantly, security concerns. So security they can be internally. It used to be mostly for them soldier. Of course, a lot of people will argue, yes, that was good and bad at the same time. Is that the reason why the country was more secure? Because Yahya Jammeh had, a soldier all over on the streets or checkpoints instead of police and stuff? Because internal security should be in the hands of police.
That's correct. I think in both government, they both made mistakes in time of enforcing laws and protecting people and their property. Me personally, a personal friend of mine, was about to go to Gambia, and he came to me and asked me if I know anyone in the security company in the Gambia that provides personal bodyguard.
It's becoming a thing.
Because of that. So my security assessment based on that, I mean, we need to change the way we enforce laws, because in the Gambia they do reactive enforcement instead of proactive enforcement. And again, that brings me back to national security. National security is not just about the government federally. It also has to do with the people and their properties, right? So by creating a system whereby law enforcement officials would do proactive policing than reactive policing. So reactive policing basically means that you wait till a crime is committed, and now you're wondering, oh my God, what are we doing? They need to come up with sting operations, like here in America, when there's crime in a region, what they do, they will create or come up with sting operations and broadcast that way, because you're trying to get in the criminal's mind that, hey, if I go commit a crime here, it might be a setup. Police might be there, so you are keeping them guessing. So if you don't keep the bad guy guessing and you make them feel comfortable, what do you think is going to happen? If they know our whole security system and law enforcement system is basically is based on reactive enforcement, how are we ever going to solve crime? Another important thing is this: policing, like 99.9% of the time, crimes are solved by people, not law enforcement.
In Gambia, yes.
So even everywhere you go,
justice, right?
Yeah. So what you do, you create a dialogue. You start to do community policing more often by talking to people and asking them, and create patrol vehicles. And you train officers whereby they can actually pull people over and check their credentials. We need to have system whereby once they catch you, we have the opportunity to have your fingerprints and everything in the database.
Gambia, police, a crime committed, and the police will ask the victim to pay for the taxi.
It happened to me.
You to arrest the person, or the victim or the perpetrator will be the one to.
It happened to me. Right. I use my own vehicle, transporting the suspect from one station to another.
Right.
And imagine I was in Gambia on a holiday.
Right.
So I spent my whole holiday going to court back and forth.
Right.
I didn't even enjoy my holiday.
Interesting.
Right. So in terms of our law enforcement strategies, we need to work on it that way it can meet the standards of the international level. But at this point, we are behind. At this point, nobody is being held accountable. Nobody by making sure that every department, every head of department. I mean, you are promoted to be head of department for a reason. You are there to oversee everything that's happening in your department. And honestly, sometimes we tend to blame the president because that's what we've known all our lives, right? President, right? But at the end of the day, sometimes they could because he cannot be at State House and overseeing other small departments across the country.
But at the end of the day, the buck lies in his hands, because the buck stops at him, because Momoy, the head of state, he's the one that was voted into and had the oversight function
to supervise everything. And another before we get to all whole stuff, another thing more, letting friendship get in his way. There was this incident that I looked at, because like I said, I've been in the shadows for so long. I've been monitoring, and I'm like, man, what are these people doing? But then I think it's time for people like me who have experience in things like this, like if there was a medical expert in some situation, and then they want to come out and try to manipulate the situation, this person should come out and say, use their expertise and say, hey, look, now this is not how it should work. And this way, we will put them a check at all times, because before they come out to make a statement, they will think about it. But nobody puts them a check.
Right.
So this incident I'm talking about, and this was actually this like something that everybody knew when somebody and a government official abused their government power. I mean, their office to commit adultery, right? So as a leader, you're supposed to make that person resign to show the next person that comes in.
Talking about here.
Yeah.
Who are you talking?
I forgot his name, and this man actually committed this adultery on someone who was married too.
Is it? Are you talking about the Birkama?
Yes.
Case?
And then something like that.
Today than ever.
Yes. So that's a political suicide on Barra's side. He doesn't know this. So people on the side
didn't care. They just let the report slide, right?
And this is a political suicide because I heard the man on a recording. He stated, "Man, of my leg, I ain't like it back it." And then now everybody heard that. But mom said already because any respectful man won't talk to a woman like that. But the way he did it, you could tell that this man, oh my God. And for so you kill for you. They don't do none of that. Because they feel like no big man. So going back to what happened, the decision that Barra should have made in this case, Moy, ask him to resign quietly. This way, when another person comes in, they will learn.
So to you, Dal, it comes back to the same thing. Teach them a lesson. Be proactive rather than reactive.
Yes, teach them a lesson. Think about it. If I come here and work, and I undermine your business, and you just let me slide because we're friends, are people who work with you ever gonna work with you and they respect you?
Not necessarily.
Exactly. Same thing comes to me. I've had incident where I've hired some people, my fellow Gambians. They came with the mindset of Kiki Gambian. I'm just gonna show up anytime I like. I said, no, you're not gonna do that with my business. You have 2 15-minute break and 1.5 hour. You know what I'm saying? Because and then I've had some people who reach out and say, oh, what am I doing with the man? I'm like, no. When you come, I'll pay you. You're not helping me. This is a job. So because of this, everybody knows it about me. Now, psychologically speaking, when people don't get their way, what do they say in Gambia? How about affair? Because they're not getting their way. Right. So as a leader, I want Mr. Burr.
You should have authority.
You should have authority and balance it differently when this is my friend. Because if you're my friend or my family, don't put me in a situation where I would have to choose between you and my job.
So are you saying, in other words, that is it true to say that there's corruption in every level and sector of our government and our political dynamics?
The corruption part, yes, because corruption comes in different forms. A department not being structured, you are you leaving a door open for corruption. Because if any structured department wouldn't even have the chance. Would have a less probability of corruption being in that department.
Well, the person you are talking about here, Sirifo Sonko, that happens to be a staff, a junior staff that he was giving opportunities to travel and go places. So corruption, abuse of office, and all of those things.
That's part of corruption.
This is, I mean, at every level.
That's part of corruption. Right? So the reason why I say it has all different forms because of when it comes to the money part, I'm not there. So, and I'm the kind of person I want to make sure that whatever I say, it's not going to be I feel. Well, it's a great point that you mentioned that abusing their power, and then the person letting them use this power, saying that, oh, I don't want to go UDP, I'm Nyohobai. But you didn't tell him, you didn't tell that man who committed that incident to go and abuse his power. So that's how you hold people accountable. See, so I've had situations within my family, sir, that I guess when people come and try to emotionally blackmail, I'm focused on the facts. You shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. But the way they look at it is, I'm not your money. It's not your money.
Yes.
Because if you don't let them know,
interrogate it.
Yeah, it is what it is. You do this. If you do good, you get rewarded. If you do bad, you have to face the consequences, basically.
Right. Well, I mean, that's good. We move on to the next thing. On December 20th is when word came out. In fact, I was here in the office when somebody called me and said, we have information,
Right.
rumors circulating that there is an attempted coup in Gambia.
Yes.
Same day, I contacted Ibrahim Sankare, the government spokesperson. I
Yeah.
contacted Amiboyan Sisoko and asked them about the situation, since, I mean, of course, it involves the government. We don't just jump and put things out there.
Right.
I didn't hear from Amiboyan, but the next morning, the 21st, Sankare sent a release, I guess, after several journalists reached out to him. And I will read what the government press release said.
Okay.
It says, the Gambia government statement on alleged coup plot by soldiers of the Gambia Armed Forces from Banjul, the Gambia. The Gambia government announces that based on intelligence reports that some soldiers of the Gambia Armed Forces were plotting to overthrow the democratically elected government of President Adama Barrow. The Gulf High Command, in a swift military operation conducted yesterday, arrested 4 soldiers linked to this alleged coup plot. The apprehended soldiers are currently helping the military police with their investigations. Meanwhile, the army is in pursuit of 3 more alleged accomplices. Investigations into this matter are continuing, and members of the public would be accordingly informed of any developments as the situation unfolds. Citizens, residents, and members of the Diplomatic Consular Corps are urged to carry on with their normal activities as the situation is under total control and there is no need to panic. Signed, Ibrahim G. Sankare, the Gambia government spokesperson and presidential diaspora advisor. This was the first ever official correspondence that comes out of government.
Right.
Your take on this?
Well, my take on this, they have made lots of mistakes. And I have 4 things that I have observed throughout the whole process, right? And one of them happens to be a political suicide on Barrow's side. Because this
on this particular statement I need that they said. This first statement, they released multiple statements.
Right.
I will come to the other ones, but this first one, of course, what is your take on this? They just came out and said, okay, there was an alleged coup plot yesterday. Members of the armed forces, went after them. They have held some people who are helping the government with investigations. 3 people are on the run. We are asking everybody to go about their business and their money. This is all that they said.
To me, it's not valid. A statement like that is not valid. Any security person that listens to that, there's a language in the security field. Okay, it's just kind of like when you're interrogating somebody, you listen to them, you listen to the story. The story can tell a lot. Like, for example, the person writing the story, some people would put themselves and say, like, for example, Nimalingana smart. Someone they're gonna believe that without considering the fact that there are other people out there who are gonna pick every word out, every word that you say, and analyze that, and then reconstruct everything that you said and said, yeah, that's valid or not, that's bogus. And in this case, that is bogus.
Why is it bogus, though, in your view?
Because when it comes to national intelligence gathering, especially something big like that, you don't rush into conclusion. The reason why you don't rush into conclusion, it's because you want to make sure that the head of the snake is cut off.
Yeah, but there were lots of rumors circulating, and citizens demanded information. Journalists like us reached out to them to find out what was going on and stuff. So they owed the public to give them information. And this is coming from government spokesperson.
Because of this, they created a whole chaos.
No name is mentioned.
Yes, they created a whole chaos.
Okay.
That tells you that they didn't conduct the investigation properly. They rushed into judgment thinking that this regime is the same regime like Yahya Jammeh, because during Yahya Jammeh's time, most people were not educated in things like this. We even still now, some people believe it's government law, definitely without digging further and gather the facts. See, the reason why there are so many speculations in this, it's because of that statement. The statement did not
give a lot of
did not give a lot of information and say, hey, like for example, right, would say, we've been conducting, we received information on alleged coup, and we've been conducting our investigation and stuff, and this is what we've come up with. Physical and digital evidence. There's no physical and digital evidence in that statement.
Okay, that was the first one released.
Right.
Now, let me ask you this question. Was it in fact right? In this case, this involves a coup d'etat. For the government, who do you think should have come out first? Who should have authority? Should it have been the military? Eventually, we'll get to that. The military spokesperson came out and they had a press briefing. But in this case, 3 to 4 first correspondence that came out about this issue all came out from government spokesperson. So should it have been the military that should have come out and said this, or should it have been government?
If this was a structured system, they will respect chain of command, which means they will pass the intel to the SIS, which controls the national security of the Gambia. And then now the SIS director would then dispatch his, is it he, right? His Show, his people to further investigate and gather more intel. And then he would determine when to come out and say this and this and this was happening and this is happening. So just because somebody is a government spokesperson doesn't mean that everything that happens in the Gambia, he or she should come out. They have departments, like the White House. The White House spokesperson talks about the things that White House does, the White House does, you know, or involved in, right? The FBI spokesperson. So why can't we have system like that?
In other words, it was GAF that should have had the authority.
Right. So the GAFs are intelligence officers, because this is intel. This is because the job of the SIS is to make sure that the peace and stability, security, like coup, they are on top of things like that. Like in America, who investigates terrorist threats on American soil? The FBI. Do you hear the armed forces? Do you hear military police? No. And then if military were involved based on the investigation, then they will involve the military. You know what I mean?
So in this case, then it was GAF, because according to the statement, GAF is the one that was involved, and they had 3 suspects right now, and they're helping them with investigations. Others are on the run, and they were on the lookout for them. So, I mean, are you saying that GAF or another statement?
GAF is Army Forces. That's what I'm saying. It's SIS, the National Intelligence System.
Yes, intelligence.
So GAF should have, because this has nothing to do with the military. Pretty much, if you look at it, it's not an attempt to commit crime against the military.
But any crime committed by military officers, though, Mr. Faye, I mean, it's generally the military. It involves the military, and that is why, I mean, guys, they don't just arrest any military officer and take them to mile 2 or the regular places. The military intelligence will be the ones that would, handle these cases.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. But at the same time, too, they need to corroborate their evidence with the people who are also in charge of the national security, which is the SIS. So let me ask you this. What is the job of the SIS in the Gambia?
Well, in this case, I mean, it involves military officers, and by default, don't you think that gives the military the authority for them to be in charge of the thing? And anything that involves military officers, they should be handled by the armed forces.
Because of this, it creates a bunch of speculation, though.
Okay.
Because there were no communication between the departments, the military department, the military intelligence, and the national security. See, national security is just not going. It's not about going solo. You're talking about national, because maybe the military, maybe the SIS had information that this was going on, if this was true, right? So it's I get what you're saying. They are military personnel, right? The initial information might come from the GAF, right, military police or whatever, right? But they should also take their time to corroborate and involve other intelligence department in the Gambia. That's what I'm saying.
The government spokesperson is talking about the information coming from the Gambia Armed Forces. The the investigation. I mean, and the people that were apprehended were being helped. I mean, in investigation at the military by the military police. Right?
I understand that. I understand what you're saying. We're on the same page. But I'm just saying, if we don't have a structured system, it leads to what's going on right now in the country.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? I'm not disputing the fact that the military are not supposed to be involved. If you hear me, if you hear everything I've been saying, I said the military intelligence service, they should have reach out to the SIS people, department who also takes care of the national security of the country. So when you do that, I'm just saying it's more effective and it avoids.
But from an expert point of view,
Yeah.
though, I mean, you seem to be talking now based on speculation. What evidence do you have? Because these people only came out to tell us the outcome.
Right.
This is what happened, and we have gotten this information. I mean, this military help with investigation. But facts. You've said it earlier that anybody who talks should talk with authority, and that was the first thing I asked you. Now, what evidence do you have that there was no, collaboration, that the military, SIS, and the police intelligence have all not been talking, and one person? Obviously, do you think everybody should come out and just say their part? Put all their information and give it to one person to actually speak on their behalf.
I'm basically stating my professional opinion on this statement about the military police coming out and say we've helped this person. You asked me what my take was on this, and I said they've made a mistake by rushing into judgment. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about.
But they already apprehended 3 people, and others are on the run. So the public should go back to their business. So it's like they already have, suspects here.
But then suspect comes with supporting evidence. So mind you, everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law.
Right.
And based on the statement that you've said to me right now, in that statement, I didn't hear anything about them obtaining physical or any digital evidence that connect these alleged people.
But if the matter is in court, if there is investigation going on and stuff, don't you think stating any of the evidence, can tamper with the process?
Well, what do you mean if the matter? So you mean if the matter is already in court right now, or
if it's under investigation, either in court or under investigation right now? The alleged matter is still under investigation anyway.
But then that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. In order to investigate, you have to receive information that a crime is about to happen or has already happened, right? And then from there, the investigators will do their jobs, and then when they see any supporting evidence that this somebody might have committed a crime, then they will charge the person.
So, Matthew, they said this is in fact a foiled coup.
Okay.
So they already had intelligence and they foiled it before it happened. They didn't go to the extent of saying this day, that day is when it happens, whatsoever.
But then if that's the case, how come since this alleged coup happened, none of them has come out and say, oh, by the way, this is what we gathered during our investigation? Because they're not sure. Because if this was the case, they wouldn't come up with committee. They won't come up with a committee that will go and investigate in 30 days, which doesn't make sense, right? Because when it comes to intelligence, in what investigation that you see that has a limited time? You tell me that. So if they had evidence that all these occurred, or whatever they say happened, how come the investigation is everywhere? Since this investigation started, how come no physical or digital evidence or financial evidence has never been shown that, hey, look, we've got we've got all this digital and physical evidence that these people were involved. Even the question
to the second one.
Okay.
This press release was dated the 21st December 2021.
Okay.
Updated version of the alleged coup plot.
Yeah.
The Gambia government statement on the alleged coup plot by soldiers of the Gambia Armed Forces, GAF, Banjul, the Gambia. The Gambia government announces that based on intelligence report that some soldiers of the Gambia Armed Forces were plotting to overthrow the democratically elected government of President Adama Barrow, the GAF High Command in a swift military operation conducted yesterday arrested 4 soldiers linked to this alleged coup plot. Those arrested are Lance Corporal son of Fadera from the Gambian Navy as the alleged ringleader of the plot, Corporal Mbara Ture from 1st Infantry Battalion, Yundun Barracks, Corporal Ibrahim Asano from the military police who is currently on study leave, and Sergeant Jibril Dabo from the Gambian Navy. The apprehended soldiers are currently helping the military police with their investigation. Meanwhile, alleged soldiers involved in the plot, either being pursued or on the run, are Corporal Njai D from the State Guard Battalion, Warrant Officer Class 2, Jadama from the Gambian Navy, and one Baji from the Gambian Navy. First names of Jadama and Baji are yet to be established. Investigations into this matter are continuing, and members of the public would be accordingly informed of any developments as the situation unfolds. Citizens, residents, and members of the diplomatic and consular corps are urged to carry on with their normal activities as the situation is under total control and there is no need to panic. Signed by Ibrahim Haji Sankare, the government spokesperson and presidential diaspora advisor.
Mr. Joof.
Now this is an updated version. At least they've mentioned names now.
Okay.
In this one.
Mr. Joof, when it comes to intelligence gathering or any investigative strategy, right? So now let me ask you this. You just finished reading that, right? In that statement, all you read was names. Oh, so and so and so. Now, that doesn't mean that they did it, right? When I'm talking,
like the first time they spoke and they said, okay, there's an alleged coup. I mean, some people are arrested and others are on the run. So now they've at least taken it further by telling you names of 4 people. And in fact, the alleged ringleader, Lance Corporal son of Fadera, who they said is the ringleader.
Let me, because I'm here to give you my professional opinion.
Yes.
Okay. And from an investigative standpoint, right? Let me give an example. That you came to my house. So and so came to my house, and we went after them. We investigated. So and so. We mentioned names, right? I'm talking about the facts, right? For example, right? If that was me, if I was in the military or part of the military intelligence, right? When you receive initial information about a coup plot, it hasn't yet happened yet, right? It hasn't yet happened, right? As a responsible investigator, right? What you do, right? Remember I told you earlier that they needed to consult the SIS, right? Well, let's just say what you said, like as an intelligence officer, right? As an intelligence officer, from an investigative standpoint, if you receive information that there's a threat to national security, you don't jump into conclusion. That's what I'm saying.
But how sure are you that they jump to conclusion?
Because
you think that these names are cooked up names?
No. See, that's where the misunderstanding is. I'm going by the statement that they have made. Right now, right? They have lost the opportunity to gather physical and digital evidence because they have contaminated the investigation.
How did they contaminate it? Can you break that down for us?
Then if the investigation, if they had anything, they wouldn't come up with new committee who would go investigate within 30 days. Anybody would tell anybody with their right, like in their right mind, would tell you that doesn't make sense, right? Because if what I'm saying here, if they had gathered all the facts, number one, Mr. Mamadou Sobali wouldn't have been detained for more than 72 hours. And the questions that
we are going to come to solve this case. Still now, I'm talking about the statement that the government made. They released one and then they updated it now, providing names. So your take on this one is that, I mean, they don't have enough evidence still.
They don't have enough evidence because based on this statement, right? If they have enough evidence, anybody in their government can come and challenge me, I'm telling you right now, based on this statement, it's based on speculation. And if you listen to the new appointed security advisor, his statement, if you listen to it carefully, you would know that they have no physical or digital evidence that ties these people to the crime. Because if that was the case, all the commotion that's going on and the whole time wouldn't happen. Like any responsible investigator, they would have done it differently. They would have used proactive investigative method, not reactive. The way they investigate in this situation, that's what I'm talking about right now. The way they investigating this, they used the wrong investigative method. They use reactive investigation.
So tell us the proactive. What would have been a proactive method of investigation?
That's what I've been trying to explain to you this whole time. Because but you focus on the statement. That's the statement. Anybody can come out and make a statement.
Yes, but that's what they are telling us. So you, as an expert, should be able to decipher the statement for us.
That's what I'm trying to do. But if you don't let me do that,
you have to go to the statement, obviously, because that's.
But then that's a statement. That's what I'm saying. Anybody can say anything. Anybody can come out and say, "Oh, by the way, we have arrested so and so and so," because that's what used to happen during Yajim's regime.
So are you saying these are cooked up names?
These are names without supporting evidence. That's what I'm saying. I'm talking about evidence.
I have seen somebody who said their brother is at the university studying and doing his thing, and then he was arrested. He knows that his brother is not involved in any type of coup, but he was arrested. I mean, as somebody that's allegedly involved in.
That's exactly my point.
Like then, I mean, they have actually made some arrests because family members have come out to say that this is my family member and he's been arrested.
Mr. Joof, anybody can get arrested, right?
So are you still saying that we don't have time? Those getting arrested.
Same thing. It's like
it's a plot.
It's a plot, and they're not doing their homework. They're undermining our intelligence system.
At the TRRC.
Yes.
Soldiers sitting down and people in the military and security officers sitting down and confessing and talking about how they incriminated Langton Montapa, how they were set up, how they were sent, and evidence.
Yeah.
And like created a scenario, came to testified in court and all of that eventually got these people convicted. So are you saying that in this case, Lolo Mohel?
I'm not saying in this case, Lolo Mohel, because they're still conducting the investigation. I'm saying in my professional opinion, the way the investigation is being handled is not how it's supposed to be. Okay. Now, I cannot make my final determination until they come back with the 30 days of investigation. Then I can finally make my...
Let me read that statement to you. It's very important to follow this. We are on the Gambian Talents TV. Pa Ousman Joof behind the microphone, and our guest is Mamadou Lamin Faye, who of course has a security background and is here to decipher. He wants to decipher the current alleged military coup plot that's happening. Now, on the 22nd, the government came out with a different or an updated version, says update on the alleged coup plot.
Okay.
Banjul, the Gambia. The public is informed that one of the soldiers sought for alleged involvement in the foil coup plot. Corporal Babukar Njai of the State Guard Battalion was apprehended at dusk yesterday and is currently detained at a secure military location. Meanwhile, the search for Baji and Warrant Officer 2, Lamin Jadama, continues. They just came out with this statement, still signed by Ibrahim G. Sankare.
Again,
your take on this one. They just came to update the public that one more person
has been arrested. Again, Mr. Joof, anybody can go and get arrested. Like anybody can be arrested, right? If you're in the Gambia, you can be arrested for whatever information, right? Again, I know you said we're gonna get into that, but I would like to use Mr. Sabali's example here, right? So let's just say Mr. Sabali was arrested based on 15-second statement that he made during his whatever TikTok speak that he made, right? Now, from an investigative standpoint, yeah, they were not wrong for bringing him for questioning. The only part that they were wrong about was this: they, after bringing him for questioning, and they did not have further evidence to support that he was involved in this coup.
Right.
They should have let him go. Right. Now that's how you respect your justice system, right? So he's not. I mean, according to so far what they've gathered, and the reason why he was arrested. He's not part of the coup. But yet still he got arrested and his constitutional right got violated. Right? That's what I'm saying. You can keep saying, oh, look, the government said this, government said it, but I am focused on the facts. Tell me, how do we link to the crime? Any person, any person with security background, this is a question they will first ask. Like Honorable Ali Fasala, he said, show me evidence that these people were part of the coup. I'm not saying this did not happen because I have no evidence that did not happen. But based on what they're saying, there's a glitch on that because they're not providing physical or digital evidence that link these people to this alleged coup. That's what I'm talking about. But you keep focusing on they made a statement, they made a statement. Anybody can make a statement.
Well, I will have to interrogate that.
Right.
These are the sequence of events. What we are seeing and hearing is what I am. Matter is in court, and we cannot. Not in court. Actually, it's under investigation, and we have to respect that. But what already came out in the public domain is what we are deciphering here is what we are breaking down for the ordinary people, and you give your advice on that. Your expert opinion on that matter. Now we've seen the 3 press releases. It's actually 4 is the one I was looking for right now. The 3 press releases that came out of government. On a separate note, as you have mentioned, 2 days after this alleged coup report, seen on social media, Mamadou Sabally wrote on his platform that he was called for questioning at the police station, and he was headed there. Now he was left there for several days, and there were lots of public opinion about it. And the military came out, as you stated, that and statements came out. Word on the street was that Sabally was linked to the coup because he had a conversation he had with the UDP TikTokers, a 10 or to 11 minutes, video in which he was talking to the social media or UDP TikTokers wing. And a few seconds of that audio,
50 seconds.
Yes, he mentioned how UDP would take the government Barrow before the local government elections. And he was arrested.
That's what I'm saying. As an investigator, from an investigative standpoint,
First question. Should Sabally have been arrested?
No, he should have brought in for questioning. There's a difference between being arrested and questioning. Let's just say, it's just kind of, let me give you a great example here. I see you and your neighbor are fighting, and you made a statement and say,
that's a threat.
No, but wait a minute.
Yes,
we know it's a threat, right? But hear me out for a minute about just look at it from an investigative standpoint, right? As an investigator, if I come to that scene and I do my like interviews with the neighbors and stuff, and somebody mentioned, oh, by the way, yesterday you said this, right? I'm not gonna arrest you. I'm gonna call you in for questioning.
Okay.
When I question you, as if you're a great investigator, right, or somebody who knows how to question people, based on that interview, you should be able to gather whether you have circumstantial evidence that this person was involved, right? So if you don't have any further evidence, because at this point all I have is that information, that threat that you made up to your neighbor, right? But then if I call you in and question you and interview you, and then you talk to me and explain what you mean and stuff, if I don't have further evidence to support that you're involved in this case, I should not hold you, right?
So however, my question that if Sabali should have been called for questioning.
Yes.
It's
based on whatever was going on, because this statement, I know people are saying, oh, it's just 15 minutes. But again, when it comes to investigative standpoint, there's no such thing as things being coincident or things being out of or things taken out, things being taken out of context. You have to gather the facts. You look at it here, even Kawar in the Japan, at Tufit. Sometimes your fingerprints, right? But even if they find fingerprints, because the law is so structured here, they're just not going to charge you. Sometimes they will let you go home while they're still conducting the investigation, right? Because they want to make sure they get it right. They want to make sure they don't contaminate and compromise the investigation. So they give you the opportunity to go.
So, but coup is huge.
It is huge. It is.
I mean, a government that is elected barely a year into office, and they should they have a 5-year mandate.
Right.
So, Sabali making this statement, he didn't say how.
Okay. Yeah.
In the statement, and I'll play the audio.
Right.
Let's take it.
Adumba fala mole. Kafo ko UDP ko len nendir lati. O man ko timeme sabatrinde. Men kan ndiro ke TikTok ndol nga wala ne wala UDP de to nya fam fania. UDP jang mala ndiro ke jang TikTok. Ani bo killing bari kan to letumi kan to lechubi. Saying alcohol du ko len alninte pour ka to nya sabati ni membe UDP ko bunya patiolem, horomo patiolem, Cairo patiolem. Adum be continue la bali sila patay mo agenda wa fi UDP ka UDP lu ya agenda me ya longa manke UDP ko jikoti. Te wakela patanke. Massive aggressive campaign be wala kela. Massive aggressive recruitment drive, MARD wala kela. Mi banko tala adama bawle hani jani carte fayo be sila. Hani jani local government election be sila mi banko tala adama bawle. Kati be mena wala misinformation, disinformation ka mul ka patio totinya patio me yalon ko barako patio leng duwa patio leng adu patio fanga ya pamandile ko barako patio duwa patio leng ka ni wote yim patio fara.
So you had the statement,
right?
I mean, of course, for the purpose of time, we cannot play the entire, message. But of course,
just 15 seconds,
yeah,
right.
In which he is saying that the government, he didn't mention how they will do it. Definitely before the election, they would take the government from Barrow. Okay, so you think like that's a serious threat, or it's not a serious?
No. See, you cannot be dramatic when it comes to investigation. All right, and then one of the mistakes that investigators make in Gambia, they only focus on evidence that could incriminate somebody or implement somebody on like in a case or whatever. And in an investigation, you have to look at both sides. You also have to look for evidence that could rule the person out.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
You're not only looking for
you know what I mean? So you also have to, because everybody has right. Let me give you an example. Even if Sabali went and killed somebody in a very serious way, his rights still needs to be protected. That's what we don't understand in the Gambia. As an investigator, your personal feelings doesn't go with investigation. Because when you do that, you're clouding and you're going to make the investigation. Because there is some situations here, sir. When you personally attach to the investigation, you excuse yourself. Your boss will tell you, no, you do attach to this, I need you to go.
You recuse,
because they don't want to mess up the investigation. You have one shot to go to court, because once you go to court, what are you going to tell the victims if you don't do your job right as an investigator, right? So in Sabali's case, people are saying, like I said, it's a 8-minute or whatever, 11-minute. It could be 100 minutes of speech, right? But as an investigator, something could happen, and then in his statement, 15 seconds, there was something that kind of relate to that, right?
How did it relate, though? We just listened to the audio, and Sabali just said.
No, what I mean by relate.
I mean, we will. Yes, before he. So, giving this in context, Sabali, I mean, for those who did not have the opportunity to listen to it, Sabali was visited by the UD after he was elected the UDP campaign manager. He was visited by this group of people, young people, and he bragged about how UDP is the only party that has a social media wing. Talked about how useful this is and how UDP has been accused of being, satanic, satanic. They have been accused of insulting and this thing, but we know the people who insult. We know this, we know that. Lolawa, and he told them to be organized and go out there and counter the messages that are coming, and in fact prove people wrong. And in the process, of course,
he made a statement.
Well, we made that statement.
That is
and if we
incriminating.
do all this, before the National Assembly election, then forget about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
The statement is incriminating, right? But may I also highlight the fact that he's a politician. This should be a lesson to other politicians. Just because you have a freedom of speech, you should know that your voice is very powerful. Language is very important, especially if you're a leader. Nobody is saying that you should not exercise your constitutional right, or you should not go out there and politics.
But there are arguments out there that a politician is only a politician, and the wish and aspiration and hopes of every politician is to take government from whoever is ruling. Yesterday, today.
Legally.
No, not legal, not illegally.
Right.
But anyhow, whether legally, they could do anything, but the bottom line is their wish is to take government out. This is one out there that, okay, every politician just wants to take over government.
But then from that's what I'm saying. From an investigative standpoint, that's you talking about feelings. You cannot feel about somebody's statement, but then you gather the facts. Somebody says something, you call them in for questioning, and then in that process, you determine. You as an investigator, you would determine if there is further evidence to detain the person. All right.
But he didn't even mention anywhere coup in the state.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But then he just said we would. From
that 15-second statement. Okay, it's like I said. He still should have been treated with respect. You know what I mean? He should have been treated with respect and say, "Hey, can you come with us to the station? We would like to talk to you about the statement that you made. That is kind of related to whatever we're investigating right now, right? That's very so."
He said that's what he said. Though he was called for questioning.
But then, if you hear him out again in some of his things, things started escalating. Went from the interview to you being arrested to being treated like a suspect, right? And then what? In that process, it's like, what do you have? You call the person, you play the remaining, even when, according to him, even when they ask him, he stated, "Hey, look, cool, I have recorded 10 minutes of this speech, right? Let's listen to it," and they wouldn't let him. See, that was wrong on their side. They should have, like I said earlier, you should not only focus on evidence that incriminates somebody.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? You also should focus, okay, let's do this. You cannot just say, well, because in that case, they put in their feelings into it. And may I also highlight that the reason why some investigators, they cannot do their job, because they put politics and investigation on the same, like in the same ball, and you can't do that. People here support other people, right? Like the security service here, but they will go vote and then they'll keep their opinion to themselves and focus on their jobs. Your job is your job. So when you investigate in these kinds of issues, especially when it has to do with a politician, you have to be careful, because right now, that's why earlier I said it's a political suicide on both sides. Because even I was telling this to one of my friends, I'm like, now Sabali has something to go with, and it just happened. I just listened to his interview with West Coast. He said that he's foiled, and people are he said people are sending him messages on Facebook saying that they're moving from NPP to UDP. That's why I said, when you deal with a politician, you have to be careful as a law enforcement officer, because Leadev Moy, Munai has credibility, and as an investigator and government, to be precise, your credibility is very important. Whatever you do, the reason why you do your homework and make sure you go through the proper channel of investigation is to maintain your credibility, to avoid what's been happening in the Gambia, all these speculations. In the beginning, that's why I said, if they had done their job right, their homework, the first press release that would come out would be like this. On date so and so and so, we received information that several people were attempting to illegally take over the country. And then we conducted our investigation. We infiltrated the group, right? And then we have evidence, we have pictures that they were conducting their meetings at this location, photos of this location or videos of this location, and this was the recording that was said in that meeting or whatever. Then this way, there will be no speculation.
But the latest update that was released on the 26th of December, an update on the alleged coup plot. Banjul, the Gambia. The public is informed that 2 more soldiers linked to the alleged foil coup plot were arrested over the weekend and are helping investigators unearth allegations of plans to overthrow the government of President Adama Barrow. The officers are Captain Ibrahim Balde from Gulf Military Intelligence Security Unit at the Defense Headquarters in Banjul. He was arrested on Sunday, the 25th December, that's Christmas Day, 2022, and Second Lieutenant Omar Koli from 1st Infantry Battalion, Yundum Army Barracks, the Morning Gambia National Army. He was arrested on Saturday, the 24th December, 2022. The search for Baji and Warrant Officer Class 2, Lamin Jadama, continues. Meanwhile, consistent with international best practices, the government will tomorrow inaugurate a legally constituted investigative panel formally tasked with all investigations surrounding the foil coup plot. This was the last statement from the government spokesperson. So let me ask you this. In fact, coup Bini, now they're mentioning a captain and a second lieutenant.
Okay.
But in the first ever statement that I read, the ringleader happened to be, let me go back to it. The ringleader happens to be Lance Corporal.
So what's your question?
The ringleader is a Lance Corporal. And you have, now a captain in the group.
The person who did not have access to State House.
The corporal
the guy did not even I'm not even sure how the military works. I'm not even sure how it works. That's what my department, but
I'm sergeant. Them whatever staff sergeant. Whatever it goes up, the ranks goes up. I'm continuing to escalate. I'm promotion. For Lance Corporal is, I think, the list thingy.
That's not my department, but all I have to say is, according to my intel, the person did not even have access to State House. Right. All right. And
even go back to this. Yes, the arrested Lance Corporal.
Yeah.
Sana Fadera, the Gambian Navy, alleged ringleader of the plot.
Right.
So, Corporal Marature from the Infantry Battalion. So, Mom's in Navy Villa Boca.
Right.
The ringleader is from the Navy.
Right.
The Corporal, who is the senior, is from the 1st Infantry Battalion, which is from Yundum Barracks.
Right.
Were they trying to pull 1994?
So, in this case, again, I'm not gonna say I feel or I think, right? So based on the statement, I'm gonna reflect back to his statement. Unless and until I hear we have physical evidence to tie these accused military personnel to this crime or whatever crime, because he hasn't been proven yet there isn't even a crime yet. It's just information received, right? And also, according to the newly appointed security advisor, my favorite way he said also information from civilian collaborators. From civilian corroborators that they found the sponsors, they know the sponsors, right? But then with supporting evidence. See, what I'm saying here, the point I'm trying to make is this. The point I'm trying to make is this. As a government spokesperson, before you come out and give a speech, you have to gather the facts. Because when you deal with people like me, we're going to question you.
Well, for Gambia, this is just the typical Gambian way. I have interviewed so many people in different walks of life. But even you ask people for their salaries, people on government payroll, well, a few things. We just like to hide information, though. And this is very typical in every department in Gambia. Journalists in Gambia, that's the hardest thing that we go through. The most difficult part of our work is accessing information. People are just stingy with information. Last year, the year before last, President did pass the information bill. But that's just word of mouth. Until this minute, we cannot have access to any information in the country or whatsoever.
I'll tell you why.
Any information in the country or anything until this minute.
I'll tell you why.
It's just a typical thing. Huh?
No, it's not a typical thing.
It's a typical thing in Ghana.
No, what I mean by this case, in this case, a structured government. You should create departments that would handle information, like you said. Not
they
just,
all have it.
Not just on paper.
I'm coming. Every government has a department.
No, I understand.
Access to information.
What I'm saying is not just on paper.
Which states that any information, any government department, anytime, and they should be able to provide us with the information.
That's what I'm saying.
This is the hardest part of our job.
Credibility is very important in whatever you do. I'm going to give you an example with your business. If you didn't build credibility for yourself, you think the higher people, powerful people that you deal with right now, you think they would entrust you with a lot of things that they entrust you with. No, they won't. Yes. See, as a government, you cannot just run the country based on nahate. So
you're saying that Gurgi they know nahate.
I'm not saying nahate.
Well, it's what
in the sense because the thing is, right? It's all about how you give out information. If you give out information like this alleged coup right now, right? Because the way they did it, the way they gave out this information creates lots of speculation. Right? So Lula Wahani, if you in the security force and as a government, you hire people that focus on situations like this, how to deal with the public. Not just because somebody went to school. Oh, so I'm not doing it. So let's put it there. If it is the medical department, hire somebody this way they know how to handle information. But you cannot, my point is, you cannot just come out and expect people to believe what you are saying without supporting evidence.
Why not? I'm not supporting evidence, but
if there was supporting evidence, okay, let me ask you this. What answers could the new committee get that the initial investigators did not get? Because if you're talking about military intelligence, they cannot just be running around with these words without knowing the meaning of it. Intelligence, you have to be smart. You have to know how to ask people. And listening to how they were even interrogating Mr. Savali, I was like, really? Because you make a statement. That's not even question.
Being judgmental because you are only talking about Savali and what he said. Savali has spoken. Government has spoken.
I'm using the example. I'm using the example from an investigative standpoint. So, to me, if they had come, let's say when they called, well, in their words, when they arrested Mr. Savali for the statement that he made, if they had found, because I even said it in my last interview, I said they were right for calling him in for questioning. But within that 72 hours, even that day, that 24 hours, if they don't have anything to charge him with, they need to let him go. So, to me, if you just hear me out carefully, you will see that I'm not basing my statement based on feelings, or I'm looking at both sides. The government started this. They have the burden of proof. They have the burden to prove this. So Savali or any other people out there do not have the burden to prove this. To prove themselves. You know what I'm saying? They at this point they just victims.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? That's accused. Yeah. They accuse and it's like without supporting evidence. And in every statement that you just read to me today. In any of those statements, the first, the second, the third, I mean, you would think that the first one, you say, maybe, yeah. Oh, maybe they were not ready. The second one, the third one, and then the fourth one, now that's when they should have come out and say, we found physical evidence, and digital evidence that this person was involved. And then at this point, now they're gonna charge the people and
So that's when they announced that they are going to constitute a panel that would be officially responsible for the
panel is bogus.
The panel that would be officially responsible
is bogus.
I mean, you're saying, I mean, these are some of the things that were out there on social media and on the streets that, I mean, they are following the footsteps of Yaya Jammeh, because that's what used to happen. As we heard at the TRRC, we've had people that were, I mean, when they did these things and they quickly constituted panels that would include security heads from the NIA, from the
and look what happened,
from the military, from this, from that.
And look what happened.
End up and they all
look what happened with that result. Has anything been done on that? No, it's a strategy. See, as a person, right, taking responsibility for your action is very important, right? As a leader, the person responsible for this investigation should be asked to resign.
Why?
Okay. The reason why I said this, right? Because this whole investigation has created commotion in the country. Lots of speculation, right? Clearly, homework were not done. They didn't do their homework well. The leader of a department, especially of investigations, right? Your job is to make sure that you don't create chaos in a country. You know what I'm saying? Person responsible for this investigation, the head of the investigation, right, should be asked to resign. All right, and I'm going to tell you why. Because your job is to make sure that peace of mind of the people is intact. Like basically, people need to send peace of mind, right? And this government should just take responsibility and say, "Yo, we messed up pretty bad." It's okay to take responsibility. You know what I'm saying? Because President Barrow does not. I mean, it's not the head of this department, right? And these people are assigned to this department to take responsibility of the actions of that department, right? So if they're not doing their job right, if they're not conducting investigations and using the rule of investigative methods, why are they there? If they're causing commotions, if they are causing commotion in the country, what is their job then? Because as a security person,
in this case, we are talking about two things here. Remember at the beginning, I told you, we talked about the military that are involved, who are undergoing investigation or helping the military police with their investigation.
Right.
Now, a civilian or civilians are thrown into it, starting with Mamadou Sabali. In this case, he was sent to the police. So it's the police who are responsible for the investigation of Mamadou Sabali. So we have military and we have police. Who are you saying should resign here? The people who are investigating Mamadou Sabali, or the people who are investigating, or the military police who are investigating the soldiers?
I would say the person responsible for both, responsible for our security.
You're talking about IGP here?
Well, if he's the
IGP
person,
is the one for internal security, and for the military, of course.
If that's the person, then yes, because you are supposed to know what's going on in your house, right? You're supposed to know what's going on in your house.
Well, a lot of people, in fact, said he's been used by the president, and
that's him
as a talk of a political. To carry out political, to hunt down political opponents.
If that allegation is true, I want to say this to the IGP. You are responsible for your actions. You understand? And I want you to know, whatever you do does not fall back on you only. It falls back on your legacy, which might impact your family, especially your kids. I want you to use Mr. President former President Yahya Jammeh's regime and his example. The people who were letting him control them mentally, emotionally, psychologically, whatever. Where are they at right now? And their kids, they are being bullied. So I just don't understand, if you are sworn in to a position like that, and yet you use somebody, you let somebody use their power or money to compromise you. That's a problem. Your dignity is very important.
So in this case, who are you saying is using him?
If no, I'm saying what you said, I'm going by what you said.
Yes,
That
yes.
if the allegations are true,
Uh-huh.
that he's being used to run President Barra's errand, then he needs to resign or step up the game, and stand up for himself and his dignity. Because I tell you what, if anybody gonna hire me, you're gonna hire me based on my qualifications. This way, I'm not gonna be a puppet. And if
Are you saying IGP is not qualified?
I'm not saying that. All I'm saying here is this: I'm basing things on the information that you have provided to me.
Right.
That many people, I quote, many people are saying he is being used by President Barrow, and I'm saying if those allegations are true, then he either needs to step up to Mr. President Barrow, let him know his credibility and dignity is more important than him.
But in every case, though, in Gambia, for the most part, you have lots of qualified people, I mean, that are hired into these positions. I mean, the IGP himself, in fact, I have seen posts from different people, especially from the UDP camp, who are saying, okay, well, you are a lawyer. He himself is a lawyer. The IGP is a lawyer. That you know the law, you know what the law says, and the president.
Well, that's another thing I was
He's a lawyer and a qualified.
But then it's just kind of like me, right? If I specialize in security, you think I can do a lawyer's job?
No, but of course he's a lawyer. He went into, of course, in every institution, these people happen to. He can be a lawyer, but within the police, he did not practice as a lawyer. But that's his qualification. He went into the police and studied law and did all his things and have all the qualifications as a lawyer. But of course, he rose through the ranks to become the IGP. It's very normal. I mean, in every institution, you can have people that are, specialized in different things.
Yes. Right? I get that.
That's his background.
Right.
I mean, just like how you have a background in whatever security and whatever, but of course, you can be practicing that or practicing something else. So he is within the police, but his background is in law.
You're right. But what I'm saying here is this: as a true security person, the number one rule is this: never let anybody compromise you. Because if you let anybody use their power, money, influence to compromise you or control you, it's like we might as well just leave the Gambia like that. Because the only thing you're going to be doing is selective enforcement, and if you are in law enforcement, when you do selective enforcement, there's going to be a problem. Let me give you one example. A close friend of mine was fooled by his name is Dembajalo. He fought every angle. Somebody in the security forces, I think is a Canifin area, was protecting this bad guy who scammed him, right? And nothing has been done. He has been everywhere. Now we get him Senegal Saligi. You immediately Senegal you're going to get the interview to get help from Senegal to bring this person to justice. Because so my point is, right, people like us here, someday we might go back and invest and create employment. Like you and I here, because we know our investment is going to be protected by the government here. Because they don't play with that, because they know that's what sponsors the country. We work, we pay taxes, we create employment, and then crime rate goes down. So they want to make sure that they protect us. So if the bad guy is using our justice system or using somebody that they have compromised to get away with things, and then so strong with some business in them, then you say you hire 10 people. So business, then 10 people, they're out of business, they're out of employment right now. Crime rate gonna go up. So these are the things that, as a security person, if this is happening, these allegations that Mr. President Barrow is using IGP and interim minister or whatever to whatever, then they need to stop.
So what's your take on CDS though? CDS Drame, Yakubu Drame, he was highly rated prior to climbing. He have been promoted CDS.
Okay.
He used to be deputy CDS. I mean, when Masane Kinte was there, and I remember in 2017 or 18,
Right.
there was a big demonstration. I mean, at Serekunda, the youths get vexed because one, I think Usman Kamara was his name, the Sierra Leonean national, was killed. I mean, at the market, allegedly killed at the market, and the youths came out, I mean, asking for justice, which led to Rapa Killer Ace and others being arrested.
Right.
At that incident, this is when this was the same time that Gorgimbu of the anti-crime unit, his house was burned down. During this period, when the youths were out there in Serekunda doing all kinds of things, burning tires and doing all kinds of things, riots and different things, demonstrations and stuff, two people who were on the scene who could talk to the people. One was Halifa Saleh, and two was Deputy
I think I remember that incident.
CDS,
Right.
Rame, he was Deputy CDS then.
Okay.
And people rated him highly.
For what?
I mean, for his intervention, because it was only two of them who could calm the youths down. Halifa Saleh and him calmed the youths down, made the youths to stop what they were doing. The riot, the demonstration, Jam Harry, normal police, different people, Jamante hair, Buna Naka tires, Tal tires, all kinds of things. But the two of them were able to calm the situation down.
They shouldn't have.
Really?
See,
they shouldn't have calmed down the youth.
See, if you are a security personnel or somebody like a lead IGP, right? You are supposed to make sure that your country is in order.
Let's hear this out.
Okay.
You are saying that the youth were burning down tires, throwing stones, I mean, burning down houses of people.
Okay.
And Halifa Saleh and Deputy CDS shouldn't have stopped the youths.
It's just kind of like when you raise a child, right? And you tell the child, no, you can't have this, right? Like my kids would never do that. But like now use that example to another household whereby children, when you take away stuff, they go rebel in the house, destroying stuff, right? Because I'm saying in my house, I want the security of my house. And I show my kids, if you do good, I will reward you. In fact, I pay them every 2 weeks. My kids, you do the job, you do the housework, I pay you every 2 weeks, right? So if you do bad, I will punish you, right? So in the security side of it, the person responsible for the security of people's property and people's life, right? So like I stated in my last interview, I said, when they actually asked me this question, what's my take on people going out and police, arresting them, protesting peacefully, or whatever. I said, if they go out to protest peacefully, then law enforcement, they need to protect them and then let them do or say whatever they want to say peacefully, and then they go home. But the game changes because sometimes when we say protest, there are some people in there who are there for different agenda. Now, when law enforcement shows up, they don't know who is good or who is bad, right? So they should use whatever force necessary to stop that from happening. In this case, we should invest in equipment because Gambia is not the only country that has people go around damaging people's shops or businesses, right?
So you are condoning and like praising the people that were there.
No, I'm not praising them.
But at the first statement you made when I said to you that CDS was Deputy CDS was highly rated by people who said he did a good job by actually being able to talk to the youth. Him and Halifa Saleh, they did not use force. The military, the police were there. I mean, paramilitary, throwing tear gas, youths throwing stones at them, and it was very dangerous. They burned down homes, and people like Killer Ace were arrested and put in jail for months, at Mile 2 prison for months. I mean, different things happened during this time. But they were able to calm down the situation by talking to the youth. You said they shouldn't have stopped them.
See, I think you're taking it out of context. What I mean by this, they shouldn't have been even there, putting their lives in danger. Why do we have our security forces?
They were there, but it was commotion and chaotic. The security couldn't handle it.
because we don't have the proper equipment to stop riots. Now, all this money all this donation that we're getting, I don't want to even get into that. I'm sure the country we do have money sometimes, right? Why can't we invest? That's another thing I wanted to talk about. We should invest in our security to bring it to the modern policing level.
Well, when my father was, interior minister, he talked about that during those early days of Barrow's government, during the coalition government, he talked about this, and there were, I think, $50 million that was coming from China to invest into the police, having a new office and investing into equipment and modern technology. But they were widely criticized for this. People said, let's put it into the hospitals, let's put it into feeding the people, improving the education system. Why do we need $50 million to build an infrastructure and the police headquarters or whatever it is, the interior ministry and all of this? People criticize me widely for that.
There's a difference between communicating to your people and letting them be in control as a government. As a government, you're supposed to respectfully be in control of a situation, right? Your job is to look out for the best interest of the country. Because people like in the Gambia, your job as a government official, your job is to look out for the best interest of the country. And in this case, the best interest of the country is to invest in security, medical system. All those things are part of national security. But in the country, the way they portray and or perceive national security is just, let's protect the bad guy from coming. But national security is a whole. Like what I stated before earlier, our conversation earlier, I said, right now, if there was a flood in Banjul, what measures are in place to evacuate those people out of Banjul? Where do we put them until the crisis is resolved, or the crisis are resolved? Where do we put them? What kind of help do we have? Reserve money or finances to help them out until they get there? Or are we going to be like a typical Gambian? We're going to wait for the international community to help us out. So if you don't value and respect your security system or your country, how do you expect people to value because I always use example of my business. Because I value and respect my business, I provide, because if I charge you, I'm gonna go above and beyond to show you that, hey, I want this money. Because I've seen so many people, they stop because they don't have a structured system. I build a structured system for myself, which works for me. So if you don't have a structured system as a business owner, if you don't have a structured system as a head of a family, if you don't have a structured system as a head of a country, before the country part, as head of a department, and as a head of a country, this is what happens. It all comes down to having a structured system. That you are definitely this way. Whatever happens, you know who to go back to and hold them accountable. Either they resign, or they take responsibility, or you fire them. This is what I'm saying.
Well, but people in Gambia, for the most part, I'm happy to and people, of course, are more worried about having fish money on a daily basis than providing service. Because, problem is every time we can be one of my family members told me, some of my family members told me, do you have a regular problem in Gambia? Fatangen nini accent wax ju bari jek lifen everyday interview everyday wax problem in Gambia yow mënulo ko régler fi lañ ko fekkate fi lañ ko baye, so you are not the person that would solve the Gambia's problems.
Because of that, that's why the Muslim kanam, right?
Real talk, family members told me just 2 days ago.
And that brings me back to letting someone use their money power to psychologically, emotionally control you. We talk about how much faith we have. We pray 5 times a day.
Open every gathering with prayer.
And it's all half time, right? But let me tell you this. If I was in a situation where I am, let's say, a minister of somewhere, and my boss wants to use me as an errand boy or a puppet, we have a problem. I will tell you, respectfully, I'm here to do a job. If this is your agenda, I'm going to resign.
Mr. Faye, so what is your take on people who will say it's better said than done? Gambia is a country where unemployment rate is exorbitantly high. I mean, corruption, Mungfa, there's no doubt to a great extent. It's a matter of who you know and not what you know. People struggle to have these opportunities. I mean, they hold on to it with two hands. Losing that job, the tendency for you to have another one.
It's about Bumiara, man. You have to mean it. And then it all comes down to, like I said, Barrow was on the other side. Mr. President Barrow was on the other side of the table. When he wanted former President Yajame to step down, I could still see him. He could barely hold the paper like that. You know what I mean? Okay, now he has the opportunity to be either on the right side of history or wrong side of history, right? But then, as a Gambian, we have a tendency of, "Come this way, Halis. Your Halis began made is dogo miskini. Your mom Halis. You don't do that." Another example. It's not even the government. Another example. Let's just say, "Jigen mu say sikir, goromi tohako." When toh, mom dom bugor, mu andi jabar sikirgi. Instead for her to be the chain, she keeps doing the same thing.
Right.
That's the mindset that we have. So in order for change to happen, people who are complaining, they need to be the change. That's why I wanted to highlight the fact that this interview is not about any political party. I'm not part of any political party. But if we don't change the way we think, we can bring the most humble person on earth, but eventually he will be corrupted by people who are surrounding him. Bao came to do a job. Initially, they came with it, like people love them. But all of a sudden, they started not communicating to the people. And when there's no communication, there's speculation. Like Community, for example, with respect. So you're definitely not, you're supposed to involve your wife in it. And because you're legit of Africa, and then you don't consult. And then you made your decision and you don't explain anything to your wife. Why you did what you did? What does that create? Speculation. So when there's no communication, speculation arises, and when that happens, everything is everywhere. Like right now, that's what I'm saying. I've tried so hard to not undermine the security system, but I think it's about time for us to face the reality. We need to look at in the next 60 years how we protect our investment. Because why do you think America spend billions of dollars on their security system? My house, I spent about $400 something in security system. I would love to keep that money, but it's not about the money. It's about anticipating what could happen. If something happens right now, I know where to go to find. Or I can sleep knowing that if anything happens, I can get up and be prepared before that person get number one on me. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm saying. In Gambia, if you receive all that money, you are the head of the family. Because the head of the family will always see, oh, Nigeria has to go silly. But they don't see what you see. Your job is you see something that they cannot see as a government. Right. Let's say right
So
now.
you were saying something that you brought me back to it. This idea of leaving the security to ECOMIC. They've been in the country for 5 years. What is your take as security expert? What is your take on ECOMIC being in the country 5 years and going 6 years now? I mean, yeah.
To me, it's very disrespectful to our justice system. We are sending the wrong message to the world that we cannot do anything without anybody in this world, financially, in a security matter too, right? And we don't even respect our own security system. And right now, I have information from a power source that these external security forces receive primary intelligence and information before even them. And mind you, about 2,000 officers, they have resigned and now they're looking for jobs out there, working for a security person. So right now, as I was saying, as a security person, you have to look at, just don't look at today, look at tomorrow's in the next 60 years. If for some reason the International Committee or ECOMIC say, you know what, we have more money, no more money to sponsor all this. Now you're on your own. So the whole time, so because you should have used this opportunity, because at first what they were doing, they were vetting our own soldiers to make sure that they're loyal to the government or whatever, right? And I was happy, because to me I was under the impression that that's really good, because while these people are waiting, you're vetting people who are fit to be there. I personally know people who were being vetted.
We are going to create a whole security sector.
Yes,
reform.
That's what they said.
I mean, have a security policy, which was, of course,
they spent millions of dollars on it.
Security policy put together with which has the whole 9 yards in it, of course. From the police to the intelligence to the military,
right?
You name it, all of them, the whole 9 yards, they were all involved. A very good document, actually. I had the opportunity to read the security policy.
I've been following them.
No, my party, I mean, the people they had retreats, I mean, at every point to actually, I mean, launch this. It was launched. Then you change lele. Still,
there is no structured system. Why do you have chain of command? Why do you think secret government documents are being leaked on the internet? Because there is no document chain of custody. When you create a system like security clearance and document chain of custody, what that does is you are creating a system where you track every document. Because they cannot use the excuse of, everything is not digitalized. Because if you don't have a system to build a firewall, that will protect, especially in this 21st century, everything is digital. They will go in and hack. But we have the advantage of using, files and stuff like that. But we should create security clearance and document command. This way, we know where it started. That way, if it leaks on the internet, and then we should create laws whereby it protects the government too. If you leak a classified document, security clearance is basically you have confidential, secret, and top secret. Certain people should have access to confidential. Certain people should have access to secret, and then the top secret, right? Because
information, in other words, information is shared on a need-to-know basis.
On a need-to-know basis, and we don't have in the Gambia.
Right.
That's why some of these ministers they were involved in scandal, or you guys spend extra amount of money. The reason why this is happening, our security system is compromised in the sense that some people in the security forces, they're political.
I have done shows in the past in which I criticize government officials, top government officials.
Right.
This is State House Sibopam.
Right.
State House officials.
Right.
Using their personal email addresses. And when I said this, it was tough. I said, people said, I mean, I said, yes.
They always do that.
Dealt with them. For example, Mpale Fadera was there at the State House working as a direct assistant who was responsible for all media affairs, dealing with the media.
Right.
Personal email address I don't use.
Very bad.
He quit and eventually went to the OIC where he's still working. He's no longer there. It took time before they could recover because he was the one that has the data using his personal email. And guess what?
Not his control.
Using his personal email to do a lot of, things now outside PR for the outside firms he's working. And State House didn't have the data. Most of us have to reach back out to State House to say, hey, we are no longer receiving your emails. What's going on? Only for us to be added again. They have somebody else, Sana Kamara, who was using it.
That's what I'm saying.
I've said it, I'm mentioning them, and these are facts. Sana also started using his own email. Sana also was fired or resigned because there was something that happened. Sisa Sebugao Mune resigned, Nabalenko fire based on political thing. And Sana also went with a lot. Now they had a third person. And we are talking about the state house,
secret.
like the White House.
State secret. So now, mind you, if there was a system that I just stated, clearance, security clearance, or document chain of custody, right? Now we would know who would have access, and then once that person is fired or about to get fired, you cancel their clearance right away. So right now, if let's just say Gambia had secrets, let's say we had spies or whatever, right? Someone then could use that and go to another country or whatever his name is, you to go to another country and sell those intel to them. So you see how important security clearance is, and not only that, even
all of them. Even this is very typical.
Yeah.
Even Sabali that we are talking about, I remember him at the Jane Commission.
Right.
When they asked him,
Yeah.
they were talking about some evidence, and he said some of those things were in his personal email. So it's very typical for government officials in Gambia or people in Gambia to use their personal email to carry out work-related tasks.
No.
Once they go with everything.
No accountability, and this is not just on the federal level of the Gambia, the local police too. Sometimes I'm on social media, photos of a crime scene, my friend, and these photos, you can tell it was taken by the investigators on the scene. Instead of they focus on protecting the scene and preserving the scene, for the scene not to be contaminated, because evidence is very important. Once you contaminate an evidence, it's like you letting the killer go, right? Those photos would be circulated over the internet.
Social media.
So let's just say the way the person was killed, only the killer would know. Now, if that person gets arrested for some reason, like they found other evidence, right? And then they go to court. Any good lawyer would kill that, because they can say, when they say, "Oh, how did you know how the person was killed?" "Oh, I saw it over the internet." You see what I'm saying? So control of evidence and preserving crime scenes, they're the most important thing ever. So if you do something like in America, every killer will go free, because with the lawyers over here, they will kill it in court. They will be making a lot of money making sure that killers are just living for free. So you see how our security system works, and then now sometimes we compare our security system to an international level. It's not even there, because the investment is not there.
But then, talking about Ecomex still, they came 6 years past. I mean, some people said that, well, in fact, the school is cooked by government, because people from Fonyi, the 3 National Assembly members, had come out to, do a press briefing and said they don't want Ecomex in their region. Wow. Pressure was being mounted, and they said some people are alleged that, well, this is cooked by the government just to justify Ecomex stay in the country. Alleged coup, but in fact there is no coup. It's just cooked by government because they want Ecomex to stay. What's your take on that?
In my professional opinion, the way things are going, if people started saying that, then the government put themselves in that situation. That's why earlier I was saying, if they had conducted this investigations using the correct investigative method, they wouldn't have been in this situation. If you don't use correct, and if you rush an investigation, this is what happens. You end up not coming up with physical or digital evidence. In this case, they're trying to treat the situation like before, not considering the fact that this is 21st century. That's the number one thing Mr. former President Yajame taught our people. Hang up back in the day for 22 years, you're dealing with the same thing. It's just kind of like if you're in a relationship, your partner keeps manipulating. Eventually, you're gonna catch up. Right, and this is what happened. This is what good thing that President former Yajame taught us. And then especially after the TRC, yeah. So that's the mistake that they made, and they still pushing, putting themselves in that situation. That's why I said it's a political suicide.
But it's the same people that are still there for the most part. I mean, Nyomodu Sawak, all these people you are talking about, whether it's in the security or other places, people that were there during Yahya Jammeh's time are occupying a good chunk of the government. I mean, politically, for example, we are talking about our the people that are the parliament, of course, having Babaka Trombongjata been appointed as the speaker, Sidi Njai the speaker. They are very close to President Barrow, and a lot of people are saying that allegedly some of the people that are borrow the old tactics that they have applied to Yahya Jammeh's days.
it's President Barrow's responsibility to put the correct people in these positions. It's just kind of like our squad, our soccer squad, football squad. Why do you think for years we never move forward? It's because of this.
What?
Who you know. We have lots of skillful people in the Gambia. You've seen our first under 17 how they played. The first time that they selected the team without bias, look what happened. We won a World Cup, right? See, they should use that example. If you come to power, you flush people out. You test them, obviously, because government comes and go, but security personnel stays.
People stay.
People stay. That's why their loyalty should fall on the constitution and the people, obviously in accordance with protecting the president. That's part of it, but your loyalty falls on the constitution. So these security forces should be advising Mr. President Barrow, who has no knowledge in terms of security. Let them know, well, this is what happened. If you want to keep your job, if I was a president, I don't want to be a president. If I was a president, I come in, that's what I would expect. I know. Because I'm using that example because I think that's the only way people would see your example. That's what I would expect. Let's just say I come in as a business person. I know nothing about intelligence. It's your job to brief me and say, look, we used to do it this way. We've tried so many times to let the man know, hey, this is not how it's done and stuff. And this is my advice if you want to succeed in this. You gotta let us do our job and stuff like that. You understand? That's what I would do as a security person. That's what I would expect from them, right? And when I say it's a political suicide on President Barrow's side, right? And it's because everything that's going on right now, like what you just mentioned, the speculation, is because of lack of physical and digital evidence. Now, you tell me right now, honest to God, if there was physical and digital evidence that tied these people to this alleged coup, you think all this speculation would be going around?
In fact, people widely criticize, the security apparatus for their press briefing that they have on this matter, because it was just a briefing. They came and said their statement and left. They wouldn't allow journalists to ask questions.
I'm not commenting on that too on the newly appointed. I don't even know his name. At the end, he said, "Oh, we're not going to entertain any questions." Language matters, bro. Okay. What and even though he said that, he still lost control of the press conference because people were still asking questions. If you watch it now, if that was me, what I would do, I'll be like, I'll take 3 questions. 3 questions. No, I have a nice day. That's how you control a situation. If you're a government official, because you are respectfully controlling the situation by giving them their rights to ask questions. Now, however they do with those 3 questions, that's on them. Because you've given them the opportunity to ask 3 or 4 questions, and then you answer it and go. It's not a bad thing. You're the government. You told them, okay, it's my time. I respect my time. You have 3. I've come out to give you my press release or whatever. You have 3 questions to ask me, and then it's up to you. However you want to ask me, right? So that's the problem that we have. And then the field intelligence gathering, brother. I want to get into that. The reason why I want to get into this, okay? Again, as I mentioned before, part of our system is we focus too much on incriminating somebody, rather than just being impartial that they talk about. Put your feelings aside. Put your political belief aside. A good investigator do not go with the same strategy because every situation is unique as an investigator, right? Now, do you use the same formula in MAP?
No.
Exactly. That's how investigation works. Every investigation, you go by what the story tells you. Because if you want to use the same strategy, you're always gonna fail. You're gonna create chaos, and then you're gonna discredit yourself, and also lose the credibility and lose respect. And one thing I also want to highlight is time to invest in our security system, right? And I remember I told you it's compromise. It's about the physical and the digital evidence, and also we don't even know who was the financial support or sponsor for this coup. They have lost that opportunity to cut off the head of a snake.
But they have said that, I mean, and that's what I'm in fact looking at. They've said that, well, there are people involved both locally and outside, people who are involved who, I mean, are the financial
from civilian collaborators.
Yes, but it's going to come out. I mean, in due course, of course. Now the matter is still under investigation. We talked about the things that happened, but the proper panel of investigation has been constituted. And I
think there are all kinds of investigations, Mr. Joof. So, like I said, if they had done their homework, this matter would have been closed by now. See, this case could have taken years because that's what intelligence gathering is about. You don't give people a time limit of when we're gonna be done with an investigation. When you do that, any reasonable person would see through you that you're trying to cover this instead of take responsibility for your actions and say, look, we messed up. Now, whoever received the information and contaminated that information needs to be held accountable. Because we're the government, we're saying that our credibility matters. So right now, if a real coup attempt happened right now, people will still question because of this situation. You see why it is important to make sure that your credibility as an investigator is very important. Because you're not only thinking about or dealing with this one situation. You are a government, you're gonna keep dealing with different kinds of situations. Right? And the issues that we have and people being attacked in the Gambia, that thing, it can be fixed easily. It can be fixed by being proactive. Every region, they should at least give them not pickup trucks. Pickup. I'm basically talking about like normal patrol vehicles, pulling people over, because that's how you. That's how. Let's just say if I pull you over today, and I happen to see weapons in plain view, which relates to anything that's been happening in that area. Let's stop now that night.
Right.
But if the bad guys or
everybody, people are security officers. You see, I guess you and I will need to have another interview
Right.
to decipher this and unpack it and break it down, because security system, our security officers, how much are they getting paid? I mean, they barely make enough fish money, and as a result, they allegedly mostly rely on, I mean, Kupali, Johmadara, Njigindeo. Senators are throwing this out there every day.
it comes down to
That somebody, saying that, okay, police in Nanjakala, that's more. Jolen Jegi and Jegi Guru and the like, for them everywhere.
that can be fixed.
Focus on more than living. So they bribe lane with, street talk and just Cooper lane something. They would rather have the $100, $200, $300 is that they will use as fish money.
This can be fixed. This can be fixed. It's not impossible, brother. Let me give you an example. So they pay tea sikas. Hanga tea banfa. Le so buge tea bi gina. No you kas bi suron pompe bi. Hanga so be pompe fa gina yep. You see what I'm saying? So we cannot just keep saying, the Fanari, and stuff. Your job as a security personnel, you took an oath to put everything aside and put the nation's best interest at heart. So you chose to accept that. You said, okay, I know I'm getting in for this salary. They sworn you in that you protect the system. And another thing I want to highlight too, we need to be fair to the government too. Okay, like I said, I'm neutral. You cannot expect raise when you're not earning it. It will be like, so you're hire a clean fee. Right? But then what are you paying me for? But if I'm paying you, if you're paying me and I'm working, like when I first came to America, my first hourly rate was $5.25 an hour. But when you see me working, you think I'm getting paid $20 an hour at that time back in 2006. Because I accepted that rate, and I said I would do this, so I do with all my heart. That's what I'm saying. That's not an excuse when it comes to the security force. When it comes to security, we showed you that we're gonna pay you this, and these are gonna be your responsibility. You took a word and you accept it. So whatever reason that they give from a security standpoint, that's on you. You should not be compromised. So I'm gonna but once you said, like, yes, I'll accept this and I'll protect the nation or people's properties or whatever in life, then that's what you need to do.
What to be done on you, Mr. Faye?
Okay.
But then the investigation continues.
Right.
They ask for 30 days.
Right.
We're going to come back maybe after the investigation and have part 2 of this interview. Ragalulo.
No, Ragaluma, because if you allow me, maybe 2 minutes of another issue on this, because it has to do with the release of Nomori Sabali too, right? Mr. Sabali. My name is Mr. Sabali. I don't know him. I've been following him for years, the way he talks. I even made, I think, a TikTok statement about him, grinding him. But then again, when it has to do with somebody's right, you have to put your feelings aside, right? When he was released, the government said, the religious leaders came, council, whatever did. That's undermining our rule of law. Because we should not even entertain the fact that it's, the religious leaders and elders should interfere. History is repeating itself. Then why do we have rule of law? The government should be held accountable if they violated Mr. Sabali's constitutional right. That way they won't do it to no one else. But
it shouldn't be based on religion.
No, they need to stay away from it. This is another problem. The government made a mistake. It's just kind of like, again, because this is not just the government, it's in our society. Now I guess Jacob Buto in Jabaram, right? Pabinyo security. No. Listen to the facts. What was Kermit? You were wrong. You were wrong. Next time, definitely. What are patch? But psychologically, closure because of this. Some government no longer. So it's not just the government. So what am I on it? It's us. We need to change.
I had always said it.
We need to change our system.
I did look at Gambian Show. I had always said it. Even if they bring Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Muneka swing president, Yenen prophets, yet you nekka the ministers, Malaikas, you nekka permanent secretary. Our country is not going anywhere unless we change our attitude.
That's the point. So we need to stop. We need to stop being hypocrites and stop saying, Bara wasn't like this before he came to power. Bara had different agenda, but then because of whatever we are, it's not going to change. Just because you're a leader doesn't mean that you cannot leave room to learn. You oversee every department in the Gambia. I just want to close with that, and next time I'll just finish whatever I have with my.
So religious leaders' interference into our democracy, into our judiciary,
system.
Into things, yes,
because you're undermining our judiciary and criminal justice system and rule of law.
So, in other words, if Mamadou Sabali was found guilty of this and the religious leaders still beg, they would have let him go.
That's what I'm saying,
right?
That's what I'm saying. And in this point,
is it for the peace of the security, the peace of the country,
and integrity?
Of course, that last week Monday, some folks, youth came out who said they are independent youth, including Mamadou Sabali's wife, came out and started a protest, and they were dispersed by the paramilitary who threw tear gas, and his wife and a couple of them were, either injured or they fainted and were rushed by the Red Cross. Don't you think a lot of religious leadership peace? Because Senegal, Japan, Ousmane Sonko, a lot of people, in fact, those who were going out for the protest were alluding to Ousmane Sonko's case in Senegal. Now, Ousmane Sonko Nim Def, nim lead eventually that could even lead to the downfall of the government. While solo standing, people alluded to solo standing.
That's why I'm disappointed in our society right now. Solo Sunday and his family, may his soul rest in peace, sacrificed for a change. That change came, and we're still living in the past. What are we telling people? What are we telling his family? That their father died for nothing? And others too died for nothing? We need to ask ourselves this. Because that man died for this. He was the first person that created this whole thing, this whole situation, for people to even have the courage to gain up. When you gain up, when you fight. So now the person lost his life in this process. This changed because of that. So we owe it to the people, the security, peace, and stability, and to make sure that they provide the basic need they need to help themselves. Right? Government is not responsible for you. Like you and I are here, right? Did anyone come to you and say, "Here, Mr. Joof, use this and make money"? No.
You have to create it.
You created your own opportunity. Nobody came to me and said, "Hey, Emma, yes, you went to school, but go start detailing cars out at the gas station." Nobody did that. I created that. So again, we need to be fair to each other. Just because you went to school doesn't mean you should have a meaningful job. As a matter of fact, what is a meaningful job? Some people who went to school for doctors, they're not even making money. But every generation, my advice is to our people, to the youths, every generation, right? There's gonna be inflation. So how you overcome those obstacles is by working harder and creating opportunities for yourself with the talent or whatever God gives you, because every person has some kind of talent that God bless you with. It's your responsibility to find that within yourself and do it, and also live within your limits, within your means, and then we won't have this problem. If we're talking about change, we need to talk about both sides, both the people and the government. And we have to be fair to the government, because the government is not just borrow. Government is us, everybody. So you have to be truthful and say, look, yes, government is not responsible for us. We have to do what we need to do. We can choose what to do, how to make money. That's what I'm saying. We have to be fair to each other, and we be the change in order for change to happen.
Very good point.
Pretty much.
What would be your take on Yana? He dies for a bit. They just loud mouthed about all these things, philosophies and principles and things they are saying. Those things don't apply in the Gambia.
That's another thing. We need to stop that. Like, for example, I went to Gambia, I hired some people, right? Man, I hire you. Being a good person is hard, because you try to avoid all kinds of temptation, right? So if I hire you and then you say, okay, let's meet at 11, I know situation happen, but give me the respect and say, hey, man, you're on late. You know what I mean? So that way, okay, do my job, Kenan. When I say someone call, and then you figure my job, Kenan. Like everybody, when you come to me and you say, hey, and you send me a job, we're not definitely okay, definitely. But because I have my principle, and I create a structured system for myself. I create a structured system for myself. The argument they tell me that's why you're feeling going to fair. You're gonna easily, right? Okay, then because America back in the day used to look like Africa. So if they had that mindset, could you change? America. But because anybody that comes with some kind of knowledge, they welcome that person, see things and think and not feel like, oh, you're gonna definitely keep on more than other thing. So every year, I think in Milwaukee, when I was going to school over there, then they hold something like that. Every 5 years or every year, then they invite everybody, call them your inventor, and then they will choose the person and then sponsor. That's how they change the system. That's what we need to. There are so many talented people in the Gambia, but they don't have the resources to pursue that. If you start to do it, like I think there was this person who came up with something, and then the government did not respect it, and he went to another country. And I read it somewhere. A Gambian.
There are so many Gambians that have so many talents, potentials, and businesses that they want to do in Gambia.
Gambia,
Eric,
that's great because
Small Masters we created this platform to help young people and have been training them for free of charge. For them to give us a mayor license to forever. But we know what can happen.
So finally, Mr. Barrow, please don't make the same mistake that former President Jammeh made when you think that when he thought that he was God, that he was going to rule the Gambia for billion years. Please don't make that mistake, because there are things that you do, it fuels the people. You know how it went. Yes, Mr. President, former President Yajama was there for so many years, but when he started, getting out of control and insulting people, look what happened. And I want to advise you to please use this opportunity. You have another opportunity for another 4 years. You have 4 more years to be part of our history book and be part of, to be on the right side of history. Please do that. If there's any change that you wanted to do before you came to power, please do it. And please always look out for the best interest of the nation. This way, even when you leave office, people will still come to you for advice. That's my advice to you.
Thank you, Mr. Faye. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for those of you that are watching the Nyohobai Show. Of course, it's a well-spent 2 hours getting to get his expertise advice, opinion rather, on this issue. We know the matter is under investigation. We have just unearthed, unpacked, deciphered the information that is out there in the public domain. What government, the steps government has already taken, such as the press releases that they put out there, such as the press briefing that took place, etc., such as what Mamadou Sabali said. Now, as far as the coup is concerned, the government said they have constituted a panel that is responsible for the investigation. We will watch and see how that comes out. And hopefully, Mr. Faye and I will have part 2 of this.
Right.
Dinañ doon seexaan Nyohobai Show dinañ ñëwaat rek def li ci olof gën koo yaatal waxtaan ak Mr. Faye ci li nga xam ne moo nekk di xew. ñu ngi leen a bëggee leen gëm leen sant yéen a doon seetaan Nyohobai Show fii ci Gambian Talents TV ba beneen jamono seen mbokk seen xarit Pa Ousman Joof jërë ngeen jëf.
ñu bëgg a xam rek tuuti bi nga nekkee Gambia lan moo la motivated ku nga dugg si fi music.
Funnily enough, my mom has always been a singer. So even when they Liberia, like choir mistress Lawan, see church before, so she was always singing. So I think that for nekalo hamne, then called Donna, be pare ñu bëgg ko.
Wax ñu tuuti rek lan mooy Yellow Gate.
Yeah, how much Yellow Gate?
Xam nga ñun ay bébé la.
Oh my God.
Ay yéen ñoom ay màgget.
Okay, shouts out to the old school. But I was like, what? Oh, yeah, 20 years ago is a long time ago. Jesus Christ, you say 20 years and you don't realize it's been that long. But yeah, Yellow Gate was one of the most popular recording studios. They're gonna be different. Some people. So it was back in the day.
So but
yes, I know, but at the same time, I'm gonna yeah, jame, we na low, I come handle. Aye, yeah, jame, we na low, I come handle. That's it. I'm not singing them out. That's it.
No, we said they come. Dina dem na do them.
Well, good question.
Naka?
Good question. Question Mubala. But dina them. Well, it's going to be a minute. Dina yaga tuti because I think we have a whole lot to work on. But I think the main thing that Gambians need to work on is the mindset. So swing mindset be swing attitude be so change with it. Matter would ban for some your government like be am done.
jërë ngeen jëf yow mi jaaxle woon ci wàllu
emotional. Jaliba Manding.
Gambian tele. Why in alien Gambian?